and welcome to the section on indexing. In the next few lectures, we'll look at indexing and several ways to accomplish indexing. As usual, we start by importing NumPy as NP and import pandas as PD, and from pandas import series and data frames. Let's talk about indexing for a minute. So we use indexing to get data or a subset of data from our pandas object. It could be a data frame or a series, for instance. And to accomplish indexing, we can grab data by using the following indexing types. They are the LAC method, the ILAC, and IX methods. So pandas support these three different types of indexing. Okay. Let's start by looking at the .loc method. This method is primarily label based, and when we are using the LAC method, if an item is not found, we'll get an error. It will throw a key error, and we can use the following inputs with the LAC method. So we can use a label, a single label like alphabets A, B, C, and so on. We can use a list of labels as an input, or we can use a slice with labels. For instance, slice, let's say A:C, and so on. The second type of indexing is the ILAC method, and this type is primarily integer based, and the inputs allowed are integers, a list of integers, a slice with integers, or even a boolean. And if an object is not found, this will raise an index error if the index is out of bound. Okay, the third type is the IX method. The IX method supports both integer and label based indexing, but it's primarily label based, and it accepts all the inputs that we use for the LAC and ILAC methods. Okay. Let's look at a simple example of indexing. For that, let's create a data frame first. Okay. I think we have seen this data frame in one of our previous lectures. So let's do that. First, I'll use the dateRange function to create a list of dates. So we'll use pandas dateRange function, pd.dateRange, and let's pass some dates. Let's say 10/21st, 2016, and let's pass the periods to be equal to 10, and I'll save that in a variable called date. Okay, and then we'll use this date object as an index. Okay, let's create our data frame. pd.dataframe, and we'll use NumPy's random_n method, np.random.randn, and we'll create a 10x4 data frame, 10 rows with 4 columns, and for our index, we'll pass the date object that we created, and let's pass the columns argument, and we'll set that to be a list containing A, B, C, and D. Okay, let's look at our data frame. So we have 4 columns, A, B, C, and D, and we have 10 rows. So we have a 10 by 4 data frame. Okay, let's save our data frame in a variable called dframe. Now let's see a simple example of indexing. So we have our data frame. Let's select column A. Here we have our index and then the column A values. Let's save this in a variable called SS. So from here we can grab a value. Let's say I wanted to grab this value, 0.018. How can I do that? So that's where indexing comes into play. So from our column A, we can pass date as an index, and then which date do I want to grab, which value in my date. So if I call my data frame object, let's say I wanted to grab 0.01, which is at index 8, I believe. So we would pass 8. Okay, let's run it. We get 0.018. 0.018. Right? So first we grabbed our column, and then from our column we were able to index the specific date we wanted to grab. So the value we wanted was 0.018, which is at index 8. Remember, indexing starts with 0, so this one is at index 8. So this is a simple basic example of indexing. So just to recap, we saw that there are 3 methods for indexing: the LAC method, the ILAC, and the IX methods. We'll see more examples of those in the coming lectures. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.